Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Twinkle.
Who will forget this rhyme? The very first rhyme that we heard since our childhood. Yes, this e-content is on rhyme and rhythm. I am Dr. T. Ganga Parameshwari, Assistant Professor of English, V.V. Vanniperumal College for Women, Virudhunagar. This e-content is prepared for the fifth chapter of the Value Added Codes on English Vocabulary and Usage. It is poetry recitation. For this poetry recitation, we need to know what is recitation. Recitation is one of the most important and effective modes of learning a language and appreciating a piece of literature. There is a famous educator, Wei Susheng, has stated the sense of language has also been strengthened by reciting more. Undoubtedly, a recitation in general sense is the act of reciting from memory or a formal reading of words or other writings before an audience. Recitation actually means recreation of poems. That recitation has its own rhythm, music, sounds, and beats, which are very much helpful for the language development, cognitive development, and emotional development. It helps the students to practice pitch, voice inflection, and volume. Through this, one can understand the words with different meaning but similar sounds. Recitation always goes with the genre poetry. Wordsworth has defined poetry in this way: it's the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility. Poetry is a Greek word. Poetry has been derived from a Greek word, poiesis. It's a form of literature that uses aesthetic and often rhythmic qualities of language. To know more about recitation, we need to know prosody. What is prosody? Prosody is the study of meter, rhythm, and intonation of a poem. Prosody concentrates on the five factors like pass, pitch, stress, volume, and tempo. Before we learn this, let's check out even more basic elements of words. They are syllable, phoneme, rhyme, and rhythm. The first is the syllable. What is syllable? Syllable is a single unbroken sound of a spoken word. Syllables usually contain a vowel and accompanying consonants. Sometimes syllables are referred to as the beads of spoken language. The number of times you hear a vowel A, E, I, O, U in a word is equal to the number of syllables a word has. A good way to identify syllables is to think about whether you need to change your mouth shape to say a next bit of word or the new syllable. Look at that example. The three given words rabbit, pretzel, and cactus. You can see the way how it has been syllabled. Rabbit, RABBIT. When you separate it, it's a two syllabled word. There you can find RAB, one all there A, and BIT, another all there I. In that way, every word has been separated by the syllable having one vowel in that syllable. Next is phoneme. What is phoneme? Phoneme is different from syllable. Phoneme is the smallest unit of sound. Phoneme is a unit of sound that can distinguish one word from another in a particular language. Look into that example of the sound F. It is being derived from the alphabet F. So FISH. Here F is derived, the sound F, phoneme F is derived from that combination of F-I-S-H. In the same way, the word which has got two F together also gives the same sound F. See, C-U-F-F is to be pronounced as cuff. In the same way, T-O-U-G-H. Here, G-H combination gives that sound F. So it is to be pronounced as chuff. Again, P-H-O-N-E. Here, P-H gives you the sound F. That way, F is the phoneme. F is the sound. Though the combination differs, but the sound remains the same. This is phoneme. Next concept is rhyme. What is rhyme? Rhyme is the matching up of sounds and syllables. Usually at the end of lines, they do not start with same sounds. Rhyme, look at that examples. Night, kite, flight, sight, bite, height, might, light, fight, tight, fright and sight. Here you can understand that same sound repeated at the end of every word, and thereby rhyme is the matching of sounds that is derived from the end of the word, and so it is called to be rhyme. Next is rhythm. What is rhythm? Rhythm is the pattern of a language in a line of a poem. It is marked by stressed and unstressed syllables in a words. Rhythm is an opposite of cacophony, right? Cacophony is something very jarring and disturbing that ear. It's a very pleasing, melodious way of uttering a word is called to be rhythm. Thereby, rhythm and rhyme are the two most essential things to keep in mind when we read and write a poem or a sentence or a passage. Thereby, we have got some kind of patterns, rhythm patterns. Usually, the rhythm patterns are many, but these 5 are selective in order to make the beginners get into the understanding of rhythmic patterns. They are iamb, trochee, spondy, dactyl and anapest. What is iamb? You see the example begin, again, alive. Here, when you utter the words, you find the first syllable to be unstressed, the second to be stressed, and thereby one unstressed syllable followed by one stressed syllable is called to be iamb. Begin, begin, again, alive. Okay. Next is trochee. Trochee is something that is extremely opposite to an iamb. Here, first one stressed syllable followed by one unstressed syllable. Altar, bridesmaid, marriage. Here you can understand the first syllables are stressed. Next is spondy. What is spondy? It is a pattern of 2 subsequent stressed syllables. Look into that example. How now? Rainstorm, sunshine. Here you can understand all the syllables, all these words are 2 syllable, bisyllabled. All these are stressed, right? And thereby a pattern which has 2 subsequent stressed syllable is called spondy. Next is dactyl. What is dactyl? One stressed syllable followed by 2 unstressed syllable. Animal, terrible, different, right? That way we have all type of rhythmic words. Next is anapest. It is opposite to a dactyl. Here 2 unstressed syllables followed by 1 stressed syllable, right? So in this way we have the difference of uttering a word, pronouncing a word correctly. So when you know where to stress and where not to stress, you can very well pronounce that word as a native speaker. Next concept you want to know is intonations. What is intonations? Intonations is the way how we give emphasis to a word. See, for example, rising and falling intonations mark the intonations, right? Here intonations can be understood in this way. Intonation describes how the voice rises and falls in a speech. Thereby, we have this combination of intonations. Here, when I say the sentence, your name is John, right? It begins with a medium pitch and ending with a lower tone, and thereby it comes under a falling intonation because it is simply one assertion. At the same time, when I read the same sentences, your name is John, with a question raising, it is called to be a raising intonation. It indicates a question, and thereby, depending upon the way where we want to stress, where we want to emphasize, right, we give the exact pitch to that voice, and that way there may be the voice rises and falls in a speech. We need to know all these things before starting to recite a poem. When we have all these ideas clearly put into our mind, you can very well go for practicing reciting a poem. Now, this is a very popular poem by Wordsworth. This is Daffodils. You could have learned daffodils in your 6th or 7th standard itself, but it's very much popular. Now, let us practice this daffodil by attempting all that ideas that we have learned just before. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the shoot to me had brought. Far off, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. I hope you enjoyed reading these daffodils. As how Wordsworth has defined, it's an emotion recollected in tranquility. When you really recollect some kind of ideas and put your emotions into reading, you can very well enjoy the art of reciting a poem. Now look into the another famous ballad. It's by John Keats, La Bella Dame Sans Mercy. Oh, what can ail thee, night at arms, alone and palely loitering? The sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. Oh, what can ail thee, night at arms, so haggard and so woebegone? The squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest in. I see a lily on thy brow, with anguish moist and fever dew, and on thy cheeks a fading rose fast withered too. I met a lady in the meads, full, beautiful, a fairest child. Her hair was long, her foot was light, and her eyes were wild. I made a garland for her head, and bracelets too, and fragrant zone. She looked at me as she did love, and made sweet moon. I set her on my pacing stick, and nothing else saw all day long. For sidelong would she bend and sing a fairy song. She found me roots of relish sweet, and honey wild and manna dew, and sure in language strange she said, I love thee true. She took me to her elfin grot, and there she wept and sighed full soon, and there I shut her wild, wild eyes with kisses full. And there she lulled me asleep, and there I dreamt, oh, betide, the latest dream I ever dreamt on the cold hillside. I saw pale kings and princes too, pale warriors, death pale were they all. They cried, La Bella Dame Sans Mercy had thee in thrall. I saw their starved lips in the gloam, with horrid warning gape wide, and I awoke and found me there on the cold hillside. And this is why I sojourn here, alone and palely loitering, though the sedge is withered from the lake, and no birds sing. I hope you enjoyed this La Bella Dame Sans Mercy too. keep trying with so many different poems, you very quickly get into that idea of reading a lot and reciting a lot and enriching your language skill. You need to know all kind of very basic things, syllable, phoneme, rhyme, rhythm, all kind of things in order to perfect yourself in the art of poetry recitation. Thank you all.